3 a.m. A haunting message from the grave at my son's funeral. The shocking truth unfolds. The clock struck 3 as the candlelight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the cold, marble floor of the church. The air was heavy with grief, yet an unsettling chill wrapped around the somber gathering. Everyone was there for Mark's funeral, but something felt off. A whisper swept through the mourners, carrying the weight of hushed gasps. It was more than just sorrow, it was the uncanny feeling that the dead wanted to be heard. That's when it happened. A lone cell phone buzzed, breaking the suffocating silence, and there on the bright screen was a message no one ever expected, a video from Mark, sent just days after his tragic death. The footage showed him smiling, eyes twinkling with life, as if he were right there with them. But the laughter twisted into something else, something darker, as he spoke words that made the hairs on their necks stand. "I know who did this to me." The words hung like a noose, tightening around the hearts of those who loved him. Tension crackled in the room, like electricity before a storm. Conversations ceased abruptly. Faces were etched with shock and disbelief. In that moment, all the pain of their loss morphed into a sharp edge of fear. Who could have sent this? Was it truly Mark? Or was there something more sinister at play? As whispers spun around the pews, some turned pale, while others clutched their neighbors, eyes darting around in panic. As the priest struggled to regain control, someone shouted, "What does he mean? He knows who did this." That echoed through the crowd like a gunshot. You could feel the air thicken, shock replaced with uneasy glances, where guilt and suspicion began to brew. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mark's video spiraled through the air, taking with it their fragile peace. A grating reminder of shadows that we had hoped were behind them. Who could possibly hold the answers? With each passing second, the mystery tightened its grip, pulling everyone deeper into the morass of anguish and unanswered questions. And as they watched that screen, lost in a mix of nostalgia and dread, one thought echoed wildly in their minds: who had truly come to mark this funeral? As the lights began to flicker ominously, they felt it too. Their world was about to change forever. The flickering light stuttered, plunging the room into darkness for a heart-stopping moment. Gasps filled the air, as panic spread like wildfire. Then, just as suddenly, the backup lights kicked in, bathing the church in a sterile glow that only highlighted the dread on the mourners' faces. "Everyone, stay calm," the priest urged, though his voice trembled. The uneasy chatter began anew, layered with accusations and fear. Glances flew between friends, relatives, and strangers who gathered to mourn a life tragically cut short. Trust began to erode. "I have to see it again," cried out Sarah, Mark's childhood friend, her voice breaking. She lunged towards the person holding the phone, desperation clear in her wide eyes. "What did he mean? What do we need to know?" Slowly, they replayed the video. Mark's cheerful face appeared once more on the screen, but this time it felt different. Each smile felt tainted, each laugh echoing with a sinister undertone. "I know who did this to me," rang out again, sealing the panic within every heart present. What if this is a trick? Someone worriedly whispered from the back, clutching their own phone tightly as if it could shield them from the truth, or worse, from their own guilt. What if someone is pretending to be him? Who would even do that? Another voice shot back, incredulous. "We're at his damn funeral." As the emotions swirled into a storm, the priest finally shouted, "This isn't the time." His face was red, and his hands shook beneath his robes. "We need to remember Mark for the light he was, not this torment." But memories hung uncomfortably in the air. Mark had always shed light on the darker corners of their lives. The sense of betrayal crept in deeper. If someone knew the truth behind his death, why hadn't they spoken up before now? The funeral suddenly felt more like an interrogation. Who could be hiding a terrible secret? A low murmur started to form at the pews. "Did you see how he looked at me?" one woman suddenly exclaimed, her voice strained. "I swear he was angry at me." Others nodded, faces blanched, as if they too were struggling to recall moments they might have shared with Mark, moments that now seemed like chilling premonitions wrapped in remorse. Mark's mother, seated in the front, covered her face with shaking hands. Overwhelmed, she wept silently, her quiet sorrow merging with the trembling anxiety overtaking the room. Mark was gone, but which of them carried a heavier burden of guilt? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the church, a cacophony that drew every head to turn. A figure stumbled into the light, panting heavily, a look of both terror and defiance painted across their face. "I know who killed Mark," they gasped, breathing raggedly as a collective hush fell, so thick you could hear the click of a clock ticking somewhere, a countdown, perhaps, to more revelations. Shuffling footsteps echoed in the silence, and every eye locked onto this newcomer, eyes wide with anticipation and dread. The truth behind Mark's death was closer than they'd ever imagined, and dread settled like a thick fog. Who had they buried, and who pulled the strings from the shadows? As the weight of the moment sank in, another chilling thought hit them. What if Mark's message wasn't meant just for them? What if there were more secrets, lying in wait, poised to strike? They had crossed a threshold, and the next words held the power to unravel their lives. Would they be ready for what was to come? The air was electric, thick with uncertainty as the figure stepped forward, eyes darting like a trapped animal seeking escape. It was Jenna, Mark's ex-girlfriend, her chest heaving as if she couldn't decide whether to flee or fight. The heavy silence was punctuated by a gasp from somewhere in the pews, murmuring swelling like an incoming tide. "Jenna, what do you mean?" someone finally managed to call out, voice trembling. Their confusion hung in the thick air, heavy as loss. She swallowed hard, glancing around at the faces turned toward her, searching for understanding, or perhaps for a glimmer of compassion. "I didn't want to say anything, but Mark told me things. Dark things." He was scared. The weight of her words landed like a stone, the room collectively holding its breath. "He said he was being followed, that someone wanted him gone. I thought he was. I thought it was just paranoia." Whispers flared up again, drowning out her shaky voice, eyes filling with suspicion. "What do you know, Jenna?" Sarah demanded, stepping forward, determination etching lines of fury across her face. "You've been hiding something, haven't you?" "No. I didn't hide anything." Jenna's voice cracked. Her hands trembled as she gestured helplessly, desperation clawing at her. "I tried to help him. I really did. But it was too late. I was too late." A shiver rolled through her, and for a moment, vulnerability flickered across her features, exposing the raw wound of grief and regret. "Enough." The priest shouted, raising a hand as if it could silence the storm brewing among mourners. He was losing control. This is not the time for accusations. But the floodgate had opened. Mistrust and pain coursed through the crowd like wildfire. Who else knew about this? A voice shouted from the back, echoing through the hall, feeding on the chaos brewing. Fear had morphed into a dangerous beast, gnawing at their souls, urging them to point fingers. Jenna, Mark's mother, lifted her head, eyes ablaze with hurt. "Why didn't you come forward before this? You could have saved him." Tears streamed down Jenna's cheeks, mingling with quiet anger. "I was scared too. I didn't know who to trust." The implications of her words swirled in the room, each soul grappling with doubt. Could Mark's death be a result of betrayal from their close-knit group? The thought sank deep, gnawing at their insides. Each person in that room was haunted by the ghosts of their relationships. They just stood there, paralyzed in their own dread, calculating who had motives that could lead to something as vile as murder. "Mark's right," Jenna finally spoke, her voice steadying. "There's more to this. What he wanted to tell you, it goes beyond me." Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the church momentarily into darkness, eliciting a symphony of gasps and shrieks. Panic rippled through the crowd, but this time when the lights returned, Jenna's expression had changed. She looked almost enlightened. "They're here, they're in this room," she whispered, voice barely audible, yet dripping with urgency. "We need to be brave. The truth wants to be heard, and it's not finished with us yet." As dread curled around them once more, every heart raced in wild unison. They had gathered to mourn, but the true horror was just beginning, ready to lay claim on each of their lives. Fear slithered down their spines, and just when they thought they couldn't descend any further, that creeping thought returned: who else had secrets? Who else knew the truth? The atmosphere crackled with tension as they exchanged furtive glances. They stood at the precipice, a storm of revelations looming just out of sight. Would they uncover the darkness lying in their midst, or would the night swallow them whole? The murmurs grew louder as Jenna's declaration settled like a dark cloud over the mourners. Confusion twisted into something darker. A man stepped from the back of the church, his face a mask of betrayal. It was David, Mark's best friend, his features pinched and pale. "Stop this. Stop it right now," he shouted, hands raised as if to ward off the dark that seemed to seep into the very walls of the church. "You don't know what you're talking about, Jenna. You're just stirring up trouble." "Trouble?" she shot back, voice rising. "Mark was terrified, David. He confided in me. Don't try to play innocent now." David's eyes narrowed, anger flashing. "You think you can just waltz in here and turn everyone against me? We're all in pain. God, Mark's dead, and you're using this moment to air your dirty laundry." The crowd absorbed each word, divided like a battlefield. Half seemed ready to rally around Jenna, desperate for answers, while others cast wary glances at David, sensing the guilt pooling behind his bravado. Suddenly, the church doors swung open with a loud bang, and the sharp wind rushed in, sending shivers through the gathered crowd. A figure stood silhouetted against the gathering storm outside, a trench-coated woman with eyes like ice. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, her voice steady, cutting through tension like a knife. "But I believe you're all in much deeper than you realize." Everyone turned as the woman stepped inside, the smell of rain and impending doom clinging to her like a second skin. Jenna looked at her, fear washing over her features. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows what really happened to Mark," the woman replied, glancing at the audience with cool detachment. "I'm here for the truth, and trust me, it's darker than any of you can imagine." Gasps surged through the pews. A ripple of unease skittered from the front to the back, the crowd shifting uneasily. "Who sent you?" David barked, but the weight in his voice faltered. "No one sent me," she said, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, now lit by a flickering candle. "I followed the trail Mark left before he died. Trust me, the danger isn't over." Jenna stepped closer, her heart pounding. "What do you know? Please, we need to know." The woman's lips curled into a semblance of a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're all blind to what's right in front of you. It's not just you who has secrets." She motioned with her hand, pointing to the group. "One of you is lying. One of you holds the key to everything that happened that night." The air thickened with dread, hearts pounding in unison as every face turned on one another, suspicion mounting like a wall between them. "I'll tell you what you really want to know. I'll expose the truth," she continued, "but first, someone here has to admit their part in this tragedy." Jenna's voice trembled. "What are you saying?" The woman leaned closer, her tone dropping to a whisper but ringing clear in the air. "The truth doesn't just hurt, it kills." And sometimes the lights flickered again, momentarily plunging the room into darkness. Gasps echoed in the night, and when they returned, the woman had vanished, leaving behind only a hint of the storm outside colliding with their escalating fears. The silence was deafening, laced with a creeping anxiety, and the reality began to settle upon them. Secrets began to crack like ice. But who, among them, could possibly know the truth? As they scanned each other's faces, Jenna felt a cold finger of terror creep up her spine. Would they uncover the lies before it was too late? Outside the church, thunder rumbled ominously, like the growl of a great beast stirring from slumber. The flickering light steadied, casting long shadows against the walls, revealing the faces of the mourners twisted in fear and confusion. Jenna squinted into the dimness, searching for any sign of the trench-coated woman, but she was gone, evaporated into the swirling chaos of disbelief. David's hands clenched into fists, his knuckles white. "This is madness," he spat, voice trembling with a mix of anger and despair. "We should be mourning, not tearing each other apart." Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that David was hiding something beneath his bravado. "Madness?" she echoed, her voice rising above the collective murmurs. "A woman just claimed to know the truth about Mark's death. If we don't talk about this, we are going to be lost in our own lies." "Tell me you're not buying this," one of the grieving women murmured to her friend in the front pew, her eyes wide with terror. Who was she? Whispers erupted across the room, stirring like a swarm of angry bees. The tension crackled, amplifying the uncertainty. Was David involved in something more sinister? What had Mark left behind? "Everyone just sit down," a voice shouted from the back, piercing through the rising chaos. It was Jenna's old friend, Sarah, her face drawn and pale but commanding. "We can't do this here. It's disrespectful. We need to find out what we're really dealing with." "Disrespectful?" David seethed, turned around as if he were about to leap at Sarah. "What's disrespectful is letting Jenna lead us into this wild goose chase. This isn't a game." Jenna's heart raced as she watched David's anger simmer. He was unraveling, and she feared what he might do next. "You think I enjoy this?" she yelled back, her voice quaking. "I'm trying to save us from a fate worse than this." "Guys," a voice piped up, timid but rising through the crowd, "maybe we should look into what that woman said?" "Right," Jenna shouted, seizing the opportunity. "What if Mark didn't just die from an accident? What if someone wanted him dead?" David laughed derisively, the sound like gravel crunching underfoot. "You've lost it, Jenna. You're desperate for some kind of headline. People die every day, and now you want to turn this into a conspiracy?" "Conspiracy?" The word fell from Jenna's lips, hanging suspended in the air. "You're the one acting paranoid. Why? Do you have something to hide?" The thunder rumbled in the distance, echoing their mounting tension. Outside, the storm intensified, pouring rain that pounded against the stained glass windows, a wild symphony to their escalating fear. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, drawing gasps from everyone. Jenna's breath hitched in her throat. A figure reappeared, silhouetted against the soft glow of the playing candles. It was the woman. Her eyes glimmered with a deeper knowing. "Didn't you hear me?" she said, her tone crystalline in the now uncertain air. "The truth is here. It's spiraling around you like a noose. But only one of you can set the others free." David took a step back, staring at her wide-eyed. "What do you want?" he whispered, the bravado fading. "I want you to think long and hard about your friends," she replied, her voice dripping with more urgency. "One of them holds the key. And if you don't figure out who it is soon, the consequence may be worse than what Mark faced. You might be next." She turned abruptly and vanished into another flicker of darkness, leaving behind a tension thick enough to cut. "Someone here knows," Jenna murmured, her own heart pounding like a war drum. The crowd gasped softly, uncertainty washing over them like a cold tide. As they looked around, fear within their eyes blended with the growing paranoia. Trust evaporated like the fading candlelight, and the storm swelled outside, threatening to explode. Who among them carried the weight of truth, and how far would they go to keep it hidden? With one turbulent thought crashing into her mind, Jenna understood, this was just the beginning, and the real horror was yet to come. The murmurs spread like wildfire, each worried face reflecting the shadows flickering over the walls. Jenna felt it in her bones, the weight of suspicion that settled over the room like a dense fog. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely breaking free of the tension. "We can't just sit here praying someone will confess." David regained his composure, but his eyes were wild, darting between familiar faces. "We need to stick together," he said, his voice steadier this time but lacking warmth. Accusations won't get us anywhere. Is that what you call it, David? Just accusations? Jenna shot back, clutching her chest as if to suppress the growing panic. If Mark was murdered, we owe it to him to find out the truth. Before it's too late. She locked eyes with Sarah, who nodded, encouraging Jenna to voice her thoughts. The tension in her gut churned. What if her voice trailed off, swallowed by the deep rumble of thunder that turned their heads toward the windows, lit with flashes of lightning? What if we form groups? Talk to each other about Mark's last days? Maybe someone knows something key. But what if we're wrong? David scoffed, crossing his arms defensively. What if you're turning this into a blame game? The truth isn't a game, David. Jenna hissed, her breaths coming in quick bursts. That woman didn't come for no reason. Someone here, one of us, has a secret to tell. It's time we face it. A collective gasp rippled through the mourners as the lights flickered yet again, teasing the group with a mirage of certainty. Almost instinctively, Jenna glanced to the back of the church where the strange woman had stood. Had she seen something? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, shaking the old building. Split-second wide eyes all met again as another round of thunder rolled across the sky. What the hell was that? Someone whispered in the back, their face pale and ghostly under the flickering light. Stay calm, David urged, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Whatever it is, won't help us or change anything. Should we check? One of the men from the front row suggested, still shaking from the buildup of tension. The room fell silent. A decision loomed in the air like the storm outside. Jenna's heart raced. She felt the weight of every soul there, felt the decision to venture into the unknown and infringe upon them. Look, I say we stand together, she said, desperate. If there is something out there, we face it. We owe Mark that much. With a nod of grim resolve, that same man at the front rose slowly, casting a determined look towards the doors. I'll go check, he said with newfound courage, but just as he took a step, the power surged and the lights blinked out entirely. Gasps filled the darkness, a collective intake of breath as fear sat heavy upon their shoulders. Mark, Jenna began, but the room erupted into chaos as more distant crashes rang through the walls. Panic clawed at her throat. No, we need to stay together. Then a scream pierced the air, slicing through the tension like a knife. There's someone outside. Jenna could feel her heart pounding against her chest, her fingers trembling. What do we do? The murmur of voices and the frantic shuffle of feet escalated, everyone uncertain of their next move. Their very sense of safety had been shattered. Stay close, she shouted, her voice breaking through the din. There was no way to know who among them was hiding the truth. But a cold realization seeped in. The storm outside raged, just as the storms of fear brewed inside. A thunderous crash echoed from the rear of the building, shaking the very foundation of the church. Whatever had come for them was knocking on the doors of their reality, forcing them to confront the truth hiding in plain sight. As Jenna turned to shield her friends, she felt an electric jolt run through her body. It was as if the universe was lining up the points, setting her on a path that could lead to torment or revelation. Get ready, she warned, a single resolve lighting within her. Whatever it is, it's coming for us. This isn't over yet. And in that moment, deep in her gut, she understood one thing for sure: they were running out of time and the answers lay just beyond the storm. The air grew thick with dread as Jenna struggled to muster the courage in the face of the unknown. The darkness pressed down on them, almost a living thing, swirling with the heavy scent of damp wood and fear. She could hear her heartbeat echoing loud in her ears, drowning out the soft gasps of those around her. Is anyone there? The voice was shaky, but it pierced through the chaos. It was Sarah, clutching Jenna's arm tightly, her grip like a vice. Maybe we should just stay put, David suggested, but his voice cracked. It was clear he felt the same desperate pull as the rest. The flickering lights cast long shadows that moved like specters, flickering around the corners of the nave. Then, as if on cue, the storm outside roared, and the entire church quaked that it wasn't just thunder that echoed anymore. It was mingling with the irrationality of their thoughts, mirroring the fear rippling through the crowd. Jenna shut her eyes for a moment, trying to block everything out, waiting for some sign, anything that would stop the rising tide of panic, but instead, the scream from moments ago returned, washing over her like cold water. She opened her eyes to find a figure appearing at the rear of the church. A silhouette, shrouded in near-total darkness, stood framed against the feeble glimmers of light. "Who are you?" Jenna's voice faltered, but she pushed through the tremor, stepping slightly forward. The figure shifted, and the dim light momentarily illuminated a familiar face. "I am here for Mark," the figure spoke, a trembling whisper tinged with sorrow. Gasps erupted around the room, and Jenna's chest tightened painfully. It was the strange woman from the funeral. The very presence that had sent everyone into a frenzy earlier. But now, she looked different, haunted, hollow. The flickering lights returned briefly, making her expression clear. Eyes wide, lips parted in shock, a look trapped between grief and urgency. Jenna's heart raced. "What do you know?" she demanded, stepping closer despite David's warning grip. Suddenly, a blast of wind surged through the church, rattling windows and scattering loose papers. The lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness once more. Murmurs erupted into chaos, followed by a desperate shove as Sarah stumbled back, colliding with David. "No. We have to listen," Jenna called out, fighting to maintain control over the panicked throng. "Mark," as the woman's voice trembled, barely a whisper now. "If you want to stop this, you need to understand. He was trying to tell you." "Tell us what?" Jenna's voice rose above the panic, desperate for clarity amid the noise. But before the woman could respond, a loud crash sounded from one of the windows, a shattering of glass echoing like the snapping of hope. The movement caught everyone's attention, wrenching their focus, and the silhouette was gone, leaving just the swirl of fear and tension. "Where did she go?" Sarah asked, her face pale, scrambling to pinpoint the escape route in the confusion. David stepped forward, peering into the darkness where the figure had just vanished. "She didn't just leave. She knew something, but what?" That word hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. It churned Jenna's stomach, a restless beast gnawing at her resolve. The ghost of Mark's unfinished message loomed larger now, each thundering heartbeat a reminder that they weren't safe, not yet. "Lights. We need to get the lights back," David shouted as he fumbled with his phone, desperately using its weak beam to scan the room. But as the darkness simmered with possibility, Jenna's mind raced. Had Mark sent the woman? What had he wanted to confess, and was there still time to uncover the truth before it slipped away like the shadows around them? An icy breeze snaked around her, chilling her bones. With a surge of determination, Jenna turned to the crowd. "We have to go after her." The urgency in her voice ignited a flicker of resolve among them. They were running out of time, and perhaps the answers they needed lay just beyond the chaos that enveloped them. "Together," she commanded, sensing the tide beginning to shift, as they all braced themselves to face the dark ahead. But just as they took their first steps forward, the unmistakable sound of laughter, a mirthless, echoing cackle, rolled through the shadows. And there it was, clawing at the edge of their consciousness, a promise of something sinister lurking within the remnants of what they had once considered safety. What was the laughter trying to say? Was it a warning, or a confirmation that they had gone too far down the rabbit hole? The storm was intensifying, within and without, and Jenna felt the choking grip of fate squeezing tighter. The shadows writhed, almost alive, as the group held their breath in unison, stunned by the dissonant laughter that pierced through the tension. It felt like a taunt, echoing in the cavernous space of the church, mocking their fears and uncertainties. Jenna's heart raced at the absurdity of it. Laughter shouldn't feel so sinister. "Don't move." David's voice cracked like a whip, snapping them from their daze. The weak beam of his phone danced wildly over the congregation, illuminating pale faces twisted in fear. "Did you hear that?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. It came from the back. Jenna nodded, her throat dry as she turned her gaze toward the darkness where the woman had vanished. Was it a mirage, or had she truly been there? An echo of Mark, trying to reach out from beyond. She felt it, that connection. But the uncertainty gnawed at her. Let us stick together, Jenna urged, attempting to inject some courage into the trembling crowd. We find her, we find answers. As if answering her determination, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the pews and casting long shadows that seemed to point accusingly toward the rear of the church. The flickering brought warmth, however brief, but the momentary comfort vanished as another crash echoed a heavy sound, as if something or someone had fallen. Jenna froze. What was that? She stepped forward, inching toward the back, her pulse a wild drumbeat in her ears. Wait, David's warning was too late. Jenna was already moving. She felt the tug of curiosity laced with dread. The thrill of the unknown was stronger than the fear that threatened to consume her. Instinct kicked in, and the others followed, albeit hesitantly. Each footstep echoed loudly, a drumline to the somber symphony of the night. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of wet earth and decay. As they neared the source of the commotion, Jenna's footing faltered on the debris scattered across the ground. Shards of glass glistened under the dim light, remnants of the shattered window, jagged edges that gleamed dangerously. Look! Sarah gasped, pointing. There, in the stark spotlight of David's phone, lay a piece of fabric, a torn scrap of black, the same as the woman's mourning dress from the funeral. But it was soaked, glistening and darkening with, what? Blood? Jenna swallowed hard, tears burning in her eyes. No, the laughter returned, reverberating through the air, now more sinister, filled with malice. It rattled the bones of the church, echoing against the walls like a sinister prayer. Enough! David shouted, plunging his phone ahead as if it were a weapon, illuminating the darkness beyond. Get ready! Suddenly, from the depths of the shadowed corner, another figure emerged, half hidden. This one was tall, draped in a coat that seemed to swallow up the light, a face obscured by shadow. Jenna recoiled, a visceral reaction coursing through her. Welcome back, the figure spoke, voice smooth and dripping with mock sweetness. So eager to find out. I hoped you wouldn't come so soon. Who are you? Jenna demanded, resolve fighting against her instinct to flee. The laughter died, replaced by an eerie silence. The figure took a step forward, and Jenna caught a glimpse of a smile. It didn't reach their eyes. I know what your friend wanted to tell you, but sometimes, it's better to bury the past. What do you mean? Jenna shook her head, wanting to fight the chills sharing her skin. Mark was trying to save you, the figure continued, now stepping into the glow, revealing a face Jenna recognized. A face eerily similar to Mark's own, a sibling she never knew existed. A fractured memory sparked within her, a name whispered in hushed tones, long buried. No, it can't be. You're not ready for the truth, the sibling warned. But it's already too late. The shadows are restless. As the storm outside surged, she felt the dark past swelling around them like a tidal wave. Jenna's heart thudded in her chest. A new revelation loomed ahead, yet the only answer she could think to scream was lost in the sea of uncertainty swirling around her. What do you want? She pressed, desperation clawing at her throat. Everything, the sibling replied, chuckling darkly. And before she could grasp what it all meant, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness, and in an instant, the figure vanished, leaving only the echo of their laughter lingering in the air. What fresh horror awaited in that blackened void? Would Jenna ever uncover the truth before it consumed them all? The darkness enveloped them like a suffocating blanket. Jenna stood frozen, her breath shallow, straining to grasp what remained of the moment. Panic swirled, but just as quickly, adrenaline surged through her veins. She couldn't let this end like this, not when she was so close to the truth about Mark. David. She breathed, trying to muster all her focus. Turn on the light. The flickering glow returned with a hesitant flick of David's wrist, casting long shadows that danced chaotically around them. Jenna squinted into the murky corner where the figure had just been, but found nothing more than cobwebs and dust. Where did he go? Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know, answered Jenna, her heart racing. But we can't just leave. Do we have a choice? David's voice quivered, fear bleeding through his bravado. Right now, we need answers, not fear. Jenna's voice was stronger than she felt inside. We've made it this far. We can't stop now. They pushed forward toward the back of the church, navigating the debris with caution. Shadows flitted around them, the soft creak of the old building sending jolts of anxiety through each member of the group. Jenna's fingers brushed against the frayed fabric she had spotted earlier. It felt cold and wet, sending a shock through her. This belongs to her, she said, holding it up. It has to mean something. Who? Questioned David, his eyes wide, full of dread as they darted between shadows. The woman from the funeral. Jenna realized, the connection hitting her suddenly. She must know something. She's tied to this. Let us get out of here. Sarah urged, glancing around nervously. This isn't right. No. Jenna shouted, surprising herself at the intensity in her voice. If Mark wanted me to find the truth, then I owe it to him. We're finishing this tonight. With an unsettling determination, Jenna started toward the door that led to the church's small sacristy, a place heavy with memories and whispers. The door creaked open, revealing an even thicker darkness inside. David raised the phone's beam, and they felt a blast of cold air hit their faces like icy fingers. Inside, dim light revealed piles of old papers and dusty altar cloths. Forgotten relics lay scattered, each holding a story shrouded in silence. Jenna's heart raced. Among the clutter, there's bound to be something that connected everything. Help me look, she said hurriedly. There must be something about this family. As the group rummaged through remnants of the church's past, Jenna felt a persistent chill crawl up her spine. A sort of instinct warned her that they weren't alone. It settled in her stomach, heavy and foreboding. Suddenly, Sarah paused, fingers hovering over an envelope emblazoned with an old family crest. What is this? She asked, pulling it from the pile. Open it, Jenna snapped, urgency coursing through her. Sarah hesitated, but the sound of approaching footsteps from the main hall spurred her to act. She ripped it open, revealing a series of yellowed papers. It's a birth certificate. She exclaimed, eyes wide. It's Mark's. Before anyone could react, a low laughter echoed again, the same sinister lullaby reverberating off the walls. The air crackled, electricity filling the room. Get it together. David hissed, pointing to the hallway where shadows shifted. We need to go. But Jenna held her ground. No. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that we can't run from this. Just then, the laughter morphed into a chilling echo, mingling with the howls of wind. The envelope slipped from Sarah's fingers, fluttering through the air. Mark? Jenna's voice trembled, faltering as the walls seemed to close in. The lights above them flickered violently, casting erratic beams across the room. The very air shifted, each breath feeling thicker and more uncertain than the last. As Jenna's blood ran cold, the figure reappeared at the doorway, an apparition of darkness, its features shadowed. Did you think you could discover the truth? The figure taunted. You didn't bury it deep enough. As the shadows shifted, swirling like smoky tendrils, Jenna felt an overwhelming sense of dread. She had pushed too far, and now it was coming back for her. Where is Mark? She shouted, desperation clawing at her throat, but silence filled the room, thick and suffocating. All Jenna could do was stand frozen, feeling the weight of the darkness shift around her like a tangible entity. What was it that Mark had left behind? And would uncovering his past bring clarity or destruction? The darkness hung heavy, almost suffocating as Jenna stared into the swirling shadows. The figure stepped further into the room, bringing an unfamiliar chill in its wake. You think you can confront the truth? It crooned. You don't even know who you're facing. Jenna's resolve wavered, yet something deep within her urged her to hold her ground. I'm not afraid of you. She yelled, the fear mixing with a wild defiance. Tell me where Mark is. The figure leaned closer, the shadows pooling around its feet like spilled ink. Mark has always been close. But you're the key, it replied, voice dripping with an unsettling calm that sent shivers down her spine. You must decide if you will walk in darkness or seek the light. Enough of your riddles, David barked, stepping forward, his phone beam shaking like his voice. Where's the truth? Where's Mark? I'll show you, the figure whispered, almost gleeful. But you must let go of what you think you know. The words sliced through Jenna's panic, a strange clarity washing over her. Is this what you meant, Mark? That the truth is more than just the end of a story? With trembling hands, she reached out, her fingertips brushing against the piece of fabric she picked up earlier. If I want clarity, I have to face it, she asserted, turning to her friends. We need to see this through together. David glanced uncertainly between the figure and Jenna. Are you sure about this? Yes, Jenna replied firmly. It's time we confronted whatever this is. If Mark is still here, we owe it to him. The figure flickered, seemingly amused. Then let us begin. With a swift motion, it swept its arm, and the shadows rippled, folding into the walls and revealing a hidden door behind dusty altar cloths. The chilled air rushed from the room, wrapping around them like a spectral embrace. Go. Jenna urged, her heart pounding. There's no turning back now. They shuffled toward the door, each step filled with a mixture of trepidation and hope. The air grew colder, thicker as they stepped through, revealing a darkened tunnel illuminated by flickering candles that lined the walls. It felt alive with whispers that trapped anguish wove through the very stones of the passage. What is this place? Sarah breathed, eyes darting around, searching for answers. Jenna took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. The truth lies ahead. Mark must have come here to find answers. As they moved deeper into the tunnel, shadows danced against the walls, conjuring images of the past, the laughter of friends, moments of joy, but also darker glimpses of anger and betrayal. Each flickering candle seemed to pulse with the memories, as if they were trying to warn them. Suddenly, Jenna stopped as they reached a heavy wooden door at the end of the corridor. Carved into the surface were names, Mark's name etched in the center, surrounded by others that told stories of loss and truth buried deep. Her heart raced. This is it, she whispered, just above a breath. This is where we find out everything. David pushed the door slightly, and it creaked open, revealing a room flooded with dim light. The atmosphere felt charged, laden with unspoken words. A large mirror stood against the far wall, reflecting their apprehensive faces. Mark? Are you in here? Jenna called out, her voice echoing against the stone. Silence draped the chamber, heavy and unyielding. Step forward, the figure's voice beckoned from behind them, stirring shadows. Jenna hesitated, pulse quickening. This is all so messed up. Is this really what you wanted? Yes, came a whispered harmony from the mirror. Vision blurred, swirling the reflection of a lost boy begging for his story to be shared. I wanted you to know the truth is not what it seems. Jenna stepped closer to the mirror, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Help us understand, Mark. The surface shimmered, and the room began to change. Suddenly, they were shown flickers of memories, the late nights filled with laughter, moments of tension washed with tears, the unmasking of dark secrets from their tight-knit group. It painted a twisted picture filled with love tangled in betrayal and fears hidden beneath the surface. Jenna gasped. No, it can't be. Mark's voice, a pleading whisper she felt in her bones, echoed from everywhere and nowhere. It's always been here, hidden behind your trust. One of you has to break the silence to save the rest. Fear washed over them as they locked eyes, suspicion building again, the echoes amplifying their own hidden truths. What do we do? Sarah's voice trembled, panic rising. Face it. Jenna shouted, the fire of determination igniting her courage. We are not just here for Mark. We're here to face ourselves, the darkness within. The shadows hissed, the figure looming larger as if bathed in distortion. One must admit, otherwise, shadows will grow until they swallow the light. Speak, or suffer. The air thickened again, the tension like a tightrope drawn taut, they were at a crossroads, each grappling with their own secrets, their own burdens. Let us just tell the truth, Jenna urged, willing her friends to feel the same clarity she had. We have to reveal what we've kept hidden. But just as the room stirred with the magnets of fear and hesitation, the lights above began to flicker furiously, reflecting their internal turmoil. Who will take the first step? The figure taunted, revealing scars of loss that marked their past. With a deep inhale, Jenna stepped into the embrace of the mirror's light. I'm ready. As her voice resonated with raw vulnerability, a silence fell over everyone, a pivotal moment thick with possibility. Truth required courage, but in that shared uncertainty, perhaps they could find redemption. The figure faded slowly, shadows retreating into cracks, leaving behind a sense of peace. Only together can you break free. The echo lingered, a promise that would unravel a new path they had yet to discover, and with that, Jenna felt a warmth envelop her. Mark's spirit lingered, navigating them back through the darkness, guiding them toward healing and light. The truth had been unearthed, a reclamation both daunting and beautiful, promising a chance for all to walk forward together. They paused at the threshold, rain softly pattering outside, a new dawn breaking on the horizon. Let us go home, Jenna whispered, glancing at her friends. And in that moment, they felt the chains of the past bind loosening, as if together, their stories could finally rest in peace. They stepped into the light, leaving the haunting shadows behind, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now it's your turn, my friends. You need to subscribe now to stay updated on the next thrilling tale we have in store for you. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help our community grow. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. My heart can't wait to hear from you. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Let us build this amazing journey together.